Welcome to our first tutorial on SolidWorks. From your desktop, you'll need to find the red cube to open up the SolidWorks application. When you open up SolidWorks, the first thing you see is a screen that looks something like this. There's nothing going on with this screen. This is just like having an easel standing up in front of you. You don't even have your canvas in order to start a work of art or painting. So in order to put that canvas on the easel, you need to choose New Document. SolidWorks is a Windows-based program, so there are multiple ways to achieve the same task. You can get started with the New Document link on the right, or from the top left, or from this expansion drop-down window, File, choose New. Any of those ways will work for you to open up your SolidWorks document. You now have three choices. We're traditionally going to begin with creating a part. When you have more than one part to put together, you can create assemblies, and then we can create drawings from those parts and assemblies. So we're going to start with a part, tell it OK. Now we have our canvas on our easel. So this is our graphics area, and we have tons of toolbars that pop up along the top of our screen. And this is our feature tree menu. It tells us everything that's gone on in the building of our part. The first part I want you to build is a 3-inch cube. So when we're working in SolidWorks or other 3D programs like Tinkercad or Inventor, we are working in 3 dimensions. We are working in X, Y, and Z. So we're not looking at something just 2-dimensionally and looking at a shape. We're actually going to develop form and add depth to our feature. So to start with, in SolidWorks, it's always best to begin with a feature. If the Features tab is not automatically highlighted, it's the very first tab. You have only 2 choices, extruded boss base or revolved boss base. We're not going to get into revolves, so we're going to deal with an extruded boss base. From there, we now have the choice of, do I build from the front, the top, or the right side plane? And this is going to go back to our knowledge of technical drawings, isometric, orthographic, pictorials, and 2-dimensional drawings. Let's start with our front plane. We have now rotated our canvas so that it is facing us. The 2 red arrows in the center is our origin. If you hover over the origin, you'll notice down at the bottom of your screen your coordinates. So now that we have told the computer or told the program that we want to create a part and that we want to do an extruded part, our tab has changed to be our sketching tools. So this is just like you would do when you draw something on Google Canvas, in Google Drawing, or in Microsoft. Let's start with our corner rectangle. It's always a good idea to anchor to that origin. That comes up later on when we want to find things like center of mass and determining volume and weight and things of that nature. You know that you're anchored when you have your orange dot. Click. You don't have to hold, just click, and then move your mouse. I typically go up and to the right. Does not matter how big it is because we have this wonderful tool up here on our sketching tab of Smart Dimension. So for our Smart Dimension, we have, when we turn on our Smart Dimension tools, now we can tell the shape how big it's supposed to be. Notice that the 2 lines that are on the origin, the XY axis, are black, and the 2 lines that are not are blue. Our sketch is undefined, and we get that message down here at the bottom where it says underdefined. That means that the program knows you want to do something like a rectangle, but it doesn't know how big you want that rectangle to be. So we have to tell it. We have to give it definition. We have to tell it how big it wants to be. It doesn't matter if you choose the top or the bottom, but you do only need to choose one. So it automatically is detecting inches. You can change that later if necessary. If I want this to be a 3-inch cube, I just change my value to 3 and hit enter. In order to get my height, I click on one of the two vertical lines, tell it 3 and hit enter. And now I have all black lines. My shape is fully defined and each one is 3 inches in length. Using your knowledge of geometry and the symbols from geometry, that's what these lines, these are reference ideas or reference icons for you to know these lines are parallel to each other. They are the same length. This symbol here means that these two lines touch. So those are just tools for you to take a look at and utilize. We see our visible object lines. We see our extension lines and our dimension lines, things that we talked about previously. Now that we have a fully defined sketch, we can exit the sketch. Exiting the sketch is the purple arrow. The red X cancels everything that you've done. So unless you want to start over, use the purple arrow. We get a preview in yellow of how thick our shape currently is. If you get trigger happy, so to speak, and hit the green check or enter before you change your depth, your shape is only going to be 1/10 of an inch thick. So we want to set our depth here on the left-hand side to 3 inches. Now we have the preview of the 3 inches. That looks more like a cube. We can hit our green check either on the left or the right. And now we have our cube. To center in the middle of our screen, we can press the F key and it will zoom us back and center our shape. You can also use your magnifying glasses at the top to zoom in, to choose just one single area that you need to look into, or to zoom back out to fit to the window is what that means. Some other features along the top here that are helpful, we can change the way it appears and the view that we're looking at. You've heard me talk about a glass box. This gives you kind of a preview of what it looks like if your shape is inside that glass box. And we can highlight the different sides, our top side. We can rotate back to our trimetric view or isometric view. We can rotate to our front side. We can manipulate our part from this option. You can also rotate your part using your wheel. If you press and hold your wheel, you can rotate your part all the way around. And given that this is a cube, we have no idea what is really our front, what's really our top. And if you look down here at our axis, it's all over the place. So to help us get it right back into place really quickly, we're going to use this tool, go back to our trimetric or isometric view. Now we can also turn on a wireframe view so we can kind of see what's going on in the back corner. And that shows us whether we have a solid without any object lines, or if it's all just object lines, or that wireframe view. This gives us our dashed hidden lines that show us what our back corner looks like. Okay, so we have created our first shape, a 3-inch cube. In order to save your shape, you will be using on your computer's thaw space. So from the top, you can click on this blue disk, the down arrow, choose Save As. It automatically names it Part 1. You can add your name and cube, and the SLDPRT means that it is a SolidWorks part. For your saving location, I do not have a thaw space, but if you go to this PC, you'll have some options here. I have simply a hard drive, but you'll also have a thaw space that is the T drive, and that's where you'll need to open up and find your file, your folder. If you don't have a folder, create a new folder, call it FET. Open up that FET folder and drop your part into that folder. Once you've dropped it into that folder, you can then upload it into Google Classroom so that I can see you've successfully created your cube.